After the young master lost his memory, he pursued me relentlessly. I played the role of a couple with Clyde for 3 years, only to find that I had truly fallen in love with him. Just as I was about to tell him the news of my pregnancy, I heard the senior who had bullied me say to him, "Clyde, thank you for pretending to lose your memory to get back at her for me. You've pranked Elizabeth 99 times. Once you reach 100 pranks, I'll date you." That's when I realized that Gloria was the unattainable white moonlight that Clyde loved, and I was just a clown he used to please Gloria. Later, I died in a plane crash. Clyde went crazy, rummaging through the wreckage, but he only found a ring with the words, "For the 100th prank, I bet you love me." It was said that Clyde knelt in the wreckage and cried until he passed out and was sent to the hospital. When he woke up, he turned against everyone who had participated in pranking me, while I, in the wind and snow of France, smiled and burned the medical records. He deceived my true feelings with a fake memory loss, and I taught him a lesson with a fake death. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. Just across a wall, Gloria's voice rose at the end. "Brother Clyde, we've passed the 96th level of the prank game." Clyde's voice carried an unfamiliar sneer. "Does Gloria find it interesting? I'm doing it to avenge you. Sister-in-law, who told Elizabeth to steal your national scholarship and the championship of the game design competition." Clyde's friends chimed in. "Sister-in-law, once we reach 100 times, Clyde can officially announce you as his girlfriend." The blood in my body instantly froze. I have to say, Clyde really knows how to play. He came up with the idea of pretending to lose his memory to prank Elizabeth. The first time he made her look for a bracelet in the rain, and when he gave it to Gloria later, her expression, my nails dug into my palms. That was a Hetien jade bracelet my mother gave me before she passed away. Clyde said he lost it when we moved. I searched for 7 hours in the rain that day and had a high fever of 40 degrees. The most brilliant one was on the day of the defense. Clyde tricked her into thinking he was drunk and got beaten up in a bar. His friends laughed loudly. I secretly took a photo of Elizabeth rushing to the bar only to find out there was no fight and then begging the tutor while crying. I bit my lower lip hard. That time, I dropped the defense I had prepared for half a year to find Clyde. And in the end, I could only postpone my graduation. Gloria chuckled. And that time, we used the game design drawings she stayed up for 3 nights to fold paper airplanes. She picked them up all night with red eyes, really like a stray dog. Clyde smiled at the right moment. How are we going to prank her this time? Let's say Clyde is in the hospital and ask her to come quickly. Then we'll go to a party and make her wait in vain. What do you think? My phone immediately vibrated. It was from Clyde. "Emergency room of the municipal hospital. Come quickly." Afraid of being discovered, I left in a hurry. But 2 minutes later, Clyde retracted the message, as if he regretted tricking me. I pretended I hadn't received it at all and didn't reply as if I was cooperating. Actually, I had expected these things. When Clyde was taking a shower, I accidentally found an encrypted video named "Game Progress" on his phone. There were 96 of them in total. It was exactly the same as the number of times I had been pranked. The password was Gloria's birthday, 1224. He lied to me, saying it was the day he first met me. On this day last year, I waited for him in the snow for 3 hours to celebrate Christmas Eve. But he was at Gloria's villa, putting a birthday crown on her, and he didn't come until late at night. Clyde carefully wrapped a scarf around my neck, as if he cherished it extremely. My heart ached dully, and I opened Instagram. I found that in the top pinned chat box. He reported the prank progress to Gloria every day. Today I lied to her that I was working overtime at the company, but actually I took you to Disneyland. She waited until 3 a.m. I deliberately told her the competition time was 2 hours later. I laughed so hard at the way she ran wildly in her pajamas. The last message stopped on the day of the class reunion, when Gloria, accidentally, spilled the hot coffee. Clyde instinctively protected me, but the chat record said, I thought she was dirty just by touching her. I sprayed disinfectant 3 times. I called my dad and told him I wanted to move to Paris with him. As early as 5 years ago, after my mother passed away, he had been living in the place where they fell in love, accompanying her for the rest of her life, and I had been staying in the country for Clyde, rejecting the suggestion of studying abroad, and I couldn't be with my dad for the whole year. I once thought that after warming up Clyde, the ice, I could see spring, but I forgot that when the ice melted, only the biting cold would be left. The true love I chased desperately was just a prank game, and I was even a clown he used to pursue his white moonlight. Hearing my words, my dad was very happy. My dear daughter, you've finally seen the light. I held back my tears and nodded. Dad, when I leave, help me stage a plane crash accident. He didn't understand, but he still agreed. The plane crash was the last gift I gave to Clyde. I want him to regret the name Elizabeth for the rest of his life. I deleted all the group photos in my phone. When I went home to pack my things, a leather notebook slipped out of Clyde's safe. On the dark green cover, there was a phoenix totem of the game, Shanghai Jean. It was the first version of the logo I designed after staying up for 36 hours. Clyde printed it on the notebook, and it contained all my design manuscripts from these years. He collected them carefully and wished me to achieve my dream. When I turned to the 7th page, I suddenly stopped. Next to the photo of me wearing glasses and typing code, there was a sticky note pasted. Today she called the planner a fluffy cat. The revised plan is 10 times better. How can there be such a cute genius? It turned out that every time I stayed up all night drawing, Clyde would accompany me, giving me massages and cooking noodles for me. Because of a word from me, he ran to buy me a cake in the early morning. During my period, he prepared brown sugar ginger tea and heat packs on time. Although it was supposed to be a love prank game, he was clearly deeply involved in it too. And in the last page, there was a stub of a plane ticket from last Valentine's Day. His strong handwriting filled the blank space. If I could choose again, I would still pretend to lose the plane ticket and trick her into accompanying me to revise the plan all night at the airport. Because this was the 72nd prank as promised to Gloria. The raindrops cracked on the bay window. All the love was built on self-deception. He might love me, but he loved Gloria more. I was just a tool for him to vent his anger. I trembled as I took out my phone and made an appointment for an abortion. Late at night, I was lying in bed, hearing the sound of Clyde coming home with a chill. I pretended not to notice. There was no sound for a long time, as if he had paused his movements. I was wondering. This time I didn't cooperate with the follow-up of the prank, which must have embarrassed him in front of Gloria and his friends. Was he just going to let it go like this? The mattress behind me sank, and a pair of strong hands wrapped around me. Clyde leaned his head against my neck, like a tired bird returning to its nest. His warm breath carried a hint of joy. We're having a baby. Luna. Luna was his nickname for me. He said I was like the moon in the sky, shining only on him, and it was also very similar to my name. But I knew that behind my back. He told Gloria and the others that I was fake and pretentious. And Luna was just a made-up name he used to fool me for fun. He just wanted to see me fall in love, come down from my pedestal, and become a lovesick fool. I was silent. He still didn't know that I had chosen not to keep this child. Clyde didn't notice anything strange. He took out my pregnancy test form and drew 3 small hearts on it with a pen mark. It was the Marlboro pen I bought for him with my first month's salary after starting work. He had been carrying it with him for the past few years. I didn't respond. Clyde held me even tighter and kept whispering words of love. But my heart felt like it was placed in the cold of the 12th lunar month, unable to thaw. I'm sleepy. Let's go to bed early. He immediately obeyed and shut up, only saying, tomorrow we'll go to Gloria's birthday party. Then he quickly fell asleep. But I stayed up all night. Clyde set up a game of fake memory loss, and I sacrificed 3 years of my true feelings. Then I will also stage a play of fake death and make him regret it for the rest of his life. At the birthday party, Clyde's friends surrounded me in the private room and pushed the biggest piece of cake in front of me. Sister-in-law. Clyde said he loves watching you eat sweets the most. Clyde averted his eyes and pretended not to notice. The moment the cake entered my mouth, a bitter taste suddenly welled up in my throat, and I felt nauseous. But Gloria held me down and stuffed the remaining cake into my mouth. Elizabeth. Today is my birthday. Don't be uncooperative. I thought you were disgusting me on purpose. My lower abdomen immediately cramped up, and the pain was unbearable. Clyde's friends jeered and made fun of me, treating me like a game to make me look stupid. After finishing the piece of cake, I immediately rushed to the bathroom and vomited until I felt dizzy, and there was a burst of satisfied laughter from the private room, indicating that the prank was successful. Hasn't your gastroenteritis healed yet? The warm water Clyde handed me was soaked with mint leaves, which was a folk remedy he taught me to relieve vomiting when we first met. I couldn't respond to his false affection because the sharp pain in my abdomen was unbearable and stinging. I looked down, and blood trickled down from my lower body to my legs, which was shocking. I grabbed Clyde's arm. "Take me to the hospital." But Gloria blocked the door and said with a smile, "This is just a menstrual disorder. It's very common among girls." "Clyde, don't make a fuss. Get out of the way," Clyde shouted angrily. This was the first time he had opposed Gloria. When I woke up, I heard Gloria's coquettish scolding outside the consulting room, criticizing Clyde's friend. "Did you put too much hallucinogenic drug? Didn't we agree that we just wanted to make her look stupid in public?" The friend smiled and said, "Getting rid of an illegitimate child is also a meritorious deed. Clyde should be thanking me." "Yeah, it's been 3 years. If she had a child, what if Clyde couldn't get rid of Elizabeth easily?" Clyde was silent for a long time before saying, "Pranks are pranks, but don't touch her body." Gloria was surprised for a moment, then asked angrily, "Who was it that said I want this bookworm to taste the feeling of falling from the clouds to avenge me? Making Elizabeth look stupid in public as my birthday present was your idea, wasn't it? Could it be that you've fallen in love with her?" The next second, Clyde denied it as if he couldn't avoid it. "How could that be? I definitely love you." Immediately, there was laughter and chatter outside again. They were celebrating the end of the 98th prank and discussing how to carry out the 99th prank. I touched my flat lower abdomen, which was aching. My child and I were just a part of their prank game. Just to give Gloria a birthday present. I wiped away my tears and tremblingly cancelled the abortion. There was no need for me to make a decision. The child's father had already sentenced her to death. Just as I was about to contact my dad, Clyde walked in. I closed my eyes and pretended to be asleep. I only heard his hoarse voice full of guilt. "Elizabeth, I'm sorry." And the reason was self-evident. After I recovered and was discharged from the hospital, Clyde said that his friends and Gloria wanted to apologize to me and invited me to climb mountain together. The temple on the top of the mountain was very efficacious and could offer prayers for our dead child. I knew this might be another prank, but thinking of the child, my heart ached and I was inevitably touched. After this, I was going to France. Consider it as the last time I saw the child. Along the way, they all surrounded Gloria, laughing and flirting, and turned a blind eye to me. When passing by the prayer tree, Clyde bought a prayer plaque and wrote the prayer words for the child with me. Gloria was beside us, smiling gently. "Elizabeth, you're really a good mother." I ignored her hypocrisy. There were not many empty spaces left on the prayer tree. When I hung the plaque, I had to lean out of the fence a bit. I leaned out half of my body, and suddenly someone pushed me hard from behind. Oh! I fell forward without any warning and rolled down the steep hillside. Intense pain instantly hit me and spread to my internal organs. My leg was severely injured, and I could hardly move. I immediately passed out. In a half-conscious state, I felt Clyde pick me up, his eyes red. "Luna, don't be afraid. I'll take you to the hospital." "Why?" I asked in a low voice, my vision blurred by tears. "Why are you doing this to me?" The wound was on the outside, but I felt like my heart was also torn apart. Clyde's eyes were full of self-blame and fear, and his voice trembled. "I didn't know they would do this. I really didn't know." Then my consciousness became blurred, and everything went dark. When I woke up again, my right leg was already covered with thick plaster. The doctor said that my leg might suffer permanent damage. I lay in bed, and tears silently fell. Clyde sat by the bedside, looking haggard, his features hiding the pain, and his eyes full of self-blame and distress. He drew a small moon on the plaster and said gently, "Luna, I'll stay with you until you recover." When I closed my eyes, Clyde tucked the quilt around me tightly, being careful not to disturb me. He was busy running around, preparing the things I needed for my hospital stay. He made several trips and only stopped after being busy for almost an hour. He looked like the most responsible boyfriend, but ironically, he was the one who had caused me to end up like this. I pretended to be asleep, but my heart was pounding, expressing my pain. Clyde stayed up all night, guarding by my bedside. From time to time, he kissed the Luna on the plaster. Tears kept flowing down, and he held my hand tightly, as if I would disappear if he let go. "I'm sorry, Luna. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have listened to them. I shouldn't have hurt you." Fortunately, I still have a chance. I'll never hurt you again. You're my life. Luna, I almost lost you. I'm sorry, he whispered, his voice choked with sobs. And he watched over me all night. I knew he was in pain because of my injury. Last time he also said in front of Gloria and the others that it was just a prank and they were not allowed to touch my body. I felt a bit soft-hearted. But I also thought I was ridiculous. Clyde's principal was Gloria. This was the 99th prank. I was still a toy to please her. And Clyde had acquiesced again. But who can say that for the 100th time? He won't continue to be an accomplice in hurting me. The next day, while Clyde was out buying breakfast, I called my dad and asked the bodyguard to come and pick me up. Preparing for the plane crash plan. While I was waiting, Gloria showed up. She looked like a winner, smiling brightly and proudly. Elizabeth, making you break your leg was one of my plans. This is the 99th prank. I held my anger in check and looked at her with hatred. Gloria sized me up from head to toe, and then pulled her luxurious brand shawl tighter around her. For the 100th prank in the competition, you will be accused of plagiarism. Clyde has sent me all the copies of your game Shanghai Jean. He has already bribed the organizing committee. Your submission time will always be 3 minutes later than mine. Just wait to be nailed to the pillar of shame. Way is the most authoritative game design competition in the country. I have been preparing for it for 2 years. And the game copies of Shanghai Jean are on my computer. I was furious and raised my hand to slap her. You stole my things and coveted my boyfriend. Gloria, you will always only deserve secondhand things. Aren't you afraid of getting dirty? Gloria's eyebrows shot up. She grabbed my wrist and twisted it, and was about to slap me. It's you who is using secondhand things now. But the slap didn't land. Gloria, what are you doing? Clyde was back, and behind him were the bodyguards my dad had sent. For the first time, he lost his temper with Gloria. And Gloria understood that he still had to carry out the last love prank and had to maintain a romantic relationship with me. Plus, feeling guilty, she didn't say anything and left resentfully. Before Clyde could explain, the bodyguard pushed a wheelchair to take me away. He sensed something was wrong, pressed down on the wheelchair, and asked uneasily, Luna, what are you going to do? I lowered my head. I'm going to France to recover from my injuries. My dad is really worried about me. Clyde didn't want me to go, saying he was worried about me. But he was the one who caused my leg injury. I insisted that my parents wanted to see me soon, so he had to agree. Then, as if in a hurry, he booked a flight ticket for tomorrow in front of me, saying he would come to find me and asked for my flight number. I paused and told him it was MU 5882. He still wanted to see me off when his phone rang suddenly. It was his friend David. Clyde, come quickly. Sister-in-law fell down the stairs. Clyde didn't even explain a word, neither about sister-in-law, nor about saying goodbye. He just rushed out. I smiled bitterly and said to the bodyguard, let's go. At the airport. Miss, the flight route has been arranged properly. Elizabeth said she will create the most perfect scene of an air crash. The electronic screen at the boarding gate flashed CA 1621. I nodded and boarded the plane to France. 12:24. The day Clyde said we first met. Whether it was true or false, I chose this moment to make him remember me forever. Remember that I died in his prank game, making him regret it for the rest of his life and only leaving behind regret. 1 second before the plane crashed, I sent Clyde a final text message. Clyde, your 100th prank. I'll play with you with my life. My phone was immediately flooded with calls and messages. The air crash of MU 5882 was completed. I took a last look at my phone, and a notification popped up from Gloria's Twitter secondary account in my special attention list. Clyde said he wants to play the collection of pranks on a clown at our wedding. The way someone cried and smudged their makeup is most suitable as the opening scene. The accompanying picture was of Clyde's safe in the apartment, neatly arranged with 99 voice recorders. Looking at the countless calls from Clyde, I smiled and pulled out the SIM card. He still didn't know about the plane crash. All he knew was that I had discovered his prank game. Was he questioning, angry, or panicking, or was he at a loss? It didn't matter anymore. My dad said that making a private plane disappear from the radar was like erasing the fingerprints on a wedding photo, and told me to rest assured, and I would completely disappear from Clyde's life. When Clyde heard about the plane crash, he rushed to the accident scene regardless of everything. He tore open the smoking metal fragments with his bare hands, and his custom-made suit was ripped open by the steel bars. The firefighters tried to stop this madman, but were deterred by his bloodshot eyes. My fiancée is in there. She's wearing the moon necklace I gave her today. At this moment, a tall and strange man approached. Before he could see clearly, the man punched him with a bang. Clyde was knocked to the ground and didn't fight back. He just continued to rummage through the wreckage, hoping to see the familiar person. Miss Elizabeth's ashes will be taken back to Paris to be buried with her mother. You're sorry for her, and you can never wash away your sins. It was my dad's assistant. Clyde's legs went weak, and he knelt directly on the ground full of ruins. At this moment, he caught sight of a ring. He picked it up with trembling hands. It was the style he and I had chosen together in the jewelry store. But inside it was engraved with 100 pranks, betting that you love me. I had engraved the words later. Clyde was like being struck by lightning, and his whole body trembled. Only then did he understand that I had known everything for a long time, and he had not only hurt me again and again, but also acquiesced in Gloria and all his friends trampling on and insulting me. In the prank love game, Clyde developed feelings for me, but he deceived himself and thought he still loved Gloria. He didn't want to lose face in front of Gloria and his friends and didn't dare to admit it. Anyway, in his view, the 100th prank was coming soon, and I was completely unaware. He could totally ignore all this and continue to be my good boyfriend, hypocritically. After all, I was deeply in love with him and couldn't live without him. But he didn't expect that I had discovered it and had been cooperating with him in the act. At this moment, Clyde's heart finally empathized with mine. We had been in love for 3 years. He was used to standing on my left side, so close to my heart, so intimate. But there was always a galaxy between us, neither warm nor cold. Now he finally felt the pain I had endured. My career was ruined. My graduation was postponed. I had a leg injury. I had an abortion. I failed in the competition, and my lover deceived me. But every time he had to make a choice. These things couldn't outweigh a single word from Gloria. Clyde knelt in the plane wreckage, lost his soul, and cried until he almost passed out from exhaustion. Later, he was found by kind-hearted staff and sent to the hospital. Seeing Clyde's zombie-like appearance, Gloria was a bit dissatisfied. It's exactly 100 pranks. Let's make our relationship public. Clyde didn't react at all, competing with the designs of a dead person. She shook the USB drive and laughed proudly. Brother Clyde, do you want to be the awarding guest? Clyde's expression froze, cold as ice. He suddenly rushed over, slapped her hard, and then grabbed her neck and slammed her into the French window. I won't be with you. If you dare to touch her things, I'll make sure you spend your 25th birthday in prison. Gloria, we'll fight to the death. Gloria covered her face and said angrily, Are you crazy? She's dead. Why are you so excited for her? Don't forget, you pranked her to avenge me. Clyde's friends also chimed in. Yeah, she's finally dead. Clyde can get rid of her completely now. It's just a pity that we missed the last chance to see her make a fool of herself. Ha ha ha. I was going to find someone to throw manure at her during the design competition. Clyde shouted loudly. Shut up. If it weren't for your prank games, how could Elizabeth have died? His friends looked at each other, and then burst into a burst of laughter. It was you who wanted to prank her. You killed her. You're the murderer. Okay. Stop pretending to be affectionate. Wasn't it you who added laxatives to her brown sugar water, and made her miss the defense? Before he could finish, he was knocked to the ground by Clyde, and the two of them fought. In the end, Clyde lost his strength and was sent to the emergency room with injuries all over his body. And the last piece of news about Clyde that my dad's assistant brought me was, he turned against everyone, often self-harmed, kept saying he was sorry to his fiancée, and frequently visited the psychiatric department. He also set up a tombstone for me in the cemetery and often went there to stay for a long time. On his chest, there was also the game logo we designed together. Everyone knew that Clyde had an unforgettable white moonlight who died in a plane crash. I sneered and continued to receive the most advanced treatment for my leg injury in France. 2 years later, I established a game studio in France and produced the Chinese-style fantasy game, Shanghai Jin, that I had designed independently before. I submitted it to the International Game Design Competition. Because of the design features of Chinese mythology and the fantasy upgrade system, and the main storyline conforming to the Western countries. With strong strength, it won the Gold Award and also caused a huge sensation in China. This was the first time a Chinese game designer won the Gold Award in this game competition. The auction price of the game quickly topped the list, and the price kept increasing to the tens of millions level. Countless partners flooded into the studio every day. The auction will be held in 3 days. My dad asked me if I wasn't afraid of Clyde coming to find me with such a big publicity. It was said that in the Beijing circle, he had already been called a madman for his dead wife, and no one could mention the name Elizabeth in front of him. I didn't care and smiled and replied, 2 years have passed. It's him who is trapped in the shadow, not me. Now I'm not afraid of anyone. My dad looked at my legs that could already walk and nodded. That scumbag Clyde. If he dares to harm you, your dad will kill him. Shanghai Jean was the manuscript I drew stroke by stroke in front of him. He was almost clear about all the designs. Now that it has won the Gold Award in the international competition, it's impossible for him not to hear the news and have doubts. It's just that he never thought that the plane crash was a fake death. But with a clue, it was naturally easier to investigate. The day after the international game competition announced the Gold Award winner, Clyde appeared at the door of my studio. He was astonishingly thin. His suit hung loosely on his shoulders. The phoenix tattoo on his collarbone spread its wings from the collar. He wore the ring of the 100th prank that I had left in the crashed plane around his neck. His eyebrows and eyes had become extremely dark due to the long-term gloomy look, exuding a sense of viciousness and inorganic indifference. The moment he saw me, Clyde's eyes instantly became gentle and focused. "Luna," he said softly, his voice a bit hoarse, "congratulations on winning the Gold Award in the international competition." Hearing the former nickname, I just felt disgusted. Clyde raised the dark green notebook in his hand like showing off a treasure, and gave a stiff smile, saying, "Congratulations. Your dream has come true." He wanted to use this notebook full of the past to hold me back, but I had already discovered the prank instructions from Gloria in it. I couldn't deceive myself that this was a love record exclusive to me. My face was as cold as water, and I said indifferently, "Mr. Clyde came in person to present the trophy. It's a pity that a person who has died once on the podium can't accept the blessings of the living." But Clyde ignored the sting in my words, as if confirming that I was still alive. His emotions broke down uncontrollably. Tears fell instantly, and his voice trembled. "It's so good that you're still alive. I thought I had lost you forever." He took out the Heartyen jade necklace my mother left me. He had previously lost it in the name of a prank and then gave it to Gloria. "Luna, here it is. I was wrong. In the past 2 years, I have lived in pain and self-blame every day. I hate myself. I did too many things to hurt you before. Can you?" The sleeve of his wrist slipped down, revealing countless shocking scars, all knife wounds. My heart ached for a moment, but I was too lazy to pay attention to his false affection and wanted to take back my mother's heirloom. "No," I interrupted him coldly. "The Elizabeth who loved you is dead. Died in the plane crash 2 years ago. 100 pranks, abortion, leg injury. Do you know how many surgeries I had to go through to be able to stand up? Clyde, why don't you just die?" I lifted my skirt, and the cold metal joints of the prosthetic limb were exposed. The scars left by the surgery wrapped around the muscles, shriveled and ugly. "All of this is because of you." Clyde froze, shocked. His eyes were scarlet, and the pain in his heart was clearly visible in his eyes without any concealment. I once desperately hoped that in the prank game, he could be a little more determined and show a little more love for me. But there was none of that. Clyde grabbed my hand tightly. Upon hearing this, he directly knelt in front of me, begging like a pitiful abandoned dog. "I know I deserve to die, but since heaven has let us meet again, it means our fate isn't over. I beg you, give me another chance. Elizabeth." "Luna." As he spoke, he tried to hug my leg. I shuddered all over and felt disgusted. "Let go of me. Clyde. You're a psycho. Who are you? Get lost." A tall man rushed over and kicked Clyde. Due to his long-term mental unhealthy state, he almost immediately lost his strength and fell to the ground. I took the opportunity to retrieve the necklace. Aries stood in front of me and asked with concern if I was injured. I shook my head. He was a game designer in the studio, from Germany, and I hired him with a high salary. And Clyde had a bitter face, full of despair as if he had been abandoned. He struggled to crawl towards me, Who is he? Have you fallen in love with him? Elizabeth. You can't treat me like this. I really can't live without you. What do I have to do for you to forgive me? Aries gave him another hard kick. You pose a threat to our boss's personal safety. I'm going to call the police. Clyde couldn't move. He coughed painfully, his face covered in dust and tears, looking extremely sad. I said coldly, it has nothing to do with you who anyone is. Forgiveness, only if you die. With the support of Aries, I walked back to the studio. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw that Clyde's eyes were filled with the pain of being ignored and not cared about, just like mine 2 years ago. The next day, when I was preparing for the Shanghai Jean game auction, I suddenly received a call from a hospital in Paris. Clyde had cut his calf. When the emergency team arrived, he was lying in a pool of blood, laughing happily and muttering to himself, "This way Elizabeth will forgive me." The hospital staff said that Clyde only asked to contact me. If I didn't show up at the scene, he wouldn't accept treatment, and now his wound was still bleeding profusely. But I couldn't forgive him easily. This would be a betrayal to myself who was deceived 2 years ago and endured 100 pranks. I politely declined the staff. I don't know Mr. Clyde at all. If he really doesn't want treatment, you can contact the funeral home for him. Immediately, Clyde's trembling shout came from the other end of the phone. Luna, my leg hurts so much. I feel like I'm going to die. I beg you, come and see me. Okay, just take a look at me. You used to care about me so much. I felt nauseous and hung up the phone directly. The former Elizabeth would drop everything in her hands and rush over as soon as she heard any news about Clyde. But every time I arrived at the scene, either there was no one there, or I was mocked by Gloria and the others. Elizabeth, why are you like Clyde's dog? You come running when he beckons. Elizabeth, you're so cheap. It's really embarrassing to be in a relationship like you. You're throwing yourself at him. I really looked down on you. I pulled myself together, walked out of the darkness of the past, and continued to prepare for the Shanghai Jean game auction the next day. This time, I was determined to succeed. In the early morning of the day before the game auction, Gloria released a pile of manuscript materials and programming designs on her Twitter, including the initial operation framework of the game, and the time shown on the computer was exactly 2 years ago. She used this as evidence to accuse me of plagiarizing her original game. Gloria instigated 99 prank games back then, but was eventually dumped by Clyde. In the past 2 years, her family's business had been targeted by Clyde, and she had been having a hard time. But now, I, the prime culprit, had come back from the dead. So naturally, she was furious. I could tell at a glance that these were the game copy designs that Clyde had stolen from my computer and given to Gloria before. On the day I faked my death, Gloria had proudly shown off to me that this would be the gold award-winning work of the game, and with Clyde's protection, she would win the award, while I would be the plagiarist who submitted my work 3 minutes later than her. Later, due to my injury recovery, I didn't participate in the game, and Gloria didn't dare to participate because of Clyde's threat. I just didn't expect that after 2 years, she would, as if going all out, vent all the pain and suffering she had endured on me. The Twitter post immediately topped the hot search list. For a moment, the whole network was in an uproar. I, the gold award winner of the international competition, had become a villain who plagiarized an unknown designer. As soon as this smear campaign started, I was widely criticized on the internet, and what was originally thought to be glory turned out to be theft. The auction was going to be held the next day, and carrying this negative reputation would definitely affect the game's price and reputation. At the moment, the official website showed that the auction price of our game had dropped to half of its original level. More netizens complained to the competition's official side, saying that a plagiarist like me didn't deserve the gold award and demanding that it be revoked. The assistant held up the tablet anxiously. It's still okay to cancel the auction. I touched my right leg, which still aching after rehabilitation, and looked out the window at the dawn in Paris. Retrieve the source files backed up in the cloud 2 years ago. Proving my innocence wasn't difficult, but it would take a lot of time to search through the vast number of manuscripts and source files and then compile them with explanations. And I didn't know how much loss it would cause. Maybe, even if I stayed up all night, I wouldn't be able to deal with it, and my Shanghai Jean would have to be disqualified from the auction. just as I was enduring a headache and preparing to deal with it. The door of the conference room was suddenly pushed open. Elizabeth, look at the live broadcast. It's Clyde. I turned on the computer. And there he was, lying in a hospital bed, wearing a hospital gown. He was as thin as a skeleton and completely pale. There was an indwelling needle in the back of his hand, and an electrocardiogram monitoring electrode patch was stuck to his chest. The collar of the hospital gown faintly revealed an unhealed knife wound. This was a new self-harm injury he had inflicted on himself. These are Elizabeth's design manuscripts from 2019 to 2021. He held up a thick stack of yellowed papers. At 2 a.m. on November 3, 2019, Elizabeth sent me a message in the library saying, "The eyes of the phoenix should have the tears of nirvana." Clyde turned on a voice recorder. My voice, mixed with the hum of the coffee machine, flowed out. Clyde. The prototype of the maze in the third chapter refers to the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang. Elizabeth. And look at Twitter. Hearing this, I opened Twitter and found that Clyde had posted several videos, showing a large number of manuscripts, design documents, and programming records, as well as the Git version records of all my design drawings, with timestamps accurate to milliseconds. All the content pointed to one fact: Shanghai Jean was originally created by me, not Gloria. I once participated in part of the process of this game, and I can prove that every creative idea in it comes from Elizabeth. Regarding Gloria's behavior, I will seriously consider suing her in court to safeguard Elizabeth's legitimate rights and interests. The public opinion reversed. Rebounding from the bottom, Gloria had thought that she could bring me down in one fell swoop this time, but she didn't expect that Clyde would stand up to testify for me, so she had to delete her Twitter and apologize. Her family's business was also impacted by this incident, and many cooperation agreements were terminated. The internet was filled with criticism and malicious accusations against her. At the end of the live broadcast, Clyde, with a face as cold as ice, forced a smile. I hope everyone will pay more attention to Miss Elizabeth's Shanghai Jean game auction tomorrow. Elizabeth, I hope I can make up for it a little bit. I listened to the words coming through the current and was silent for a moment, with mixed feelings. The game's auction price shown on the official website quickly recovered and even exceeded the previous level. At the auction, Clyde was wheeled out in a wheelchair, just like when I first arrived in France. A colleague joked, "Is Clyde also going to bid for Elizabeth's Shanghai Jean?" There were many bidders, and the price soared all the way, but many people stopped bidding because they couldn't offer a higher price. In the final competition, only Clyde and a Russian client were left. 1 million, 11 million. Aries rubbed his face in amazement. We're not even selling the game with a buyout system. There will be countless more money from the subsequent revenue streams. I'm really going to make my dream come true. However, your former fiancé is really persistent. Is he trying to win you back? I ignored him and just watched the scene as if it were a play. In the end, Shanghai Jean was bought by Clyde for $12 million, and the auction price was almost equal to the total of the previous 10 games. After the transaction was confirmed, Clyde walked towards me. After the leg injury, he had worked continuously for several days. He was pale, and his features were still gloomy. I bought this game as a gift for you. I've always recognized your talent, and you will definitely shine in the future. I can shift my work focus to France. Would you be willing? Clyde pursed his lips, looking a bit nervous. I smiled politely and said, "Thank you for Mr. Clyde's appreciation. I'm not willing to do anything other than work. I just consider it a big profit. Goodbye." Clyde's eyelashes fluttered rapidly, and he coughed, his pale lips showing that all his original expectations had been shattered. And I turned around without hesitation. At the press conference, when I was interviewed by reporters, someone asked out of curiosity, "Miss Elizabeth, Mr. Clyde from your country, China, spent $12 million on Shanghai Jean. When you were involved in the plagiarism scandal, he also presented your design manuscripts as evidence. May I ask if you have any special relationship? Are you friends? Or lovers?" I hesitated for a few seconds and finally explained generously. We were considered friends when I was in China, and we discussed the production of the Shanghai Jean game. It's just that the music has ended and the fate has come to an end. After the press conference ended, Clyde was leaning on a crutch, and his assistant was supporting him as he approached me. I was discussing the next game design with my colleagues and didn't plan to pay attention to him. But suddenly, the roar of an engine came from behind. The moment I turned around, a van without a license plate was speeding towards us. In the driver's seat was Gloria, with disheveled hair and a haggard face. Her expression was blank, and her eyes were filled with hatred. He deceived my true feelings with a fake memory loss, and I taught him a lesson with a fake death. Clyde shook off his assistant and pushed me away with all his might, and he himself collapsed to the ground due to the weakness of his calf and was hit and sent flying by the following van. Bang! I rushed over immediately, but Clyde was already covered in blood. His appearance blurred. "Clyde, how are you?" Clyde forced a smile, and for the first time since we met again, he held my hand, choking on blood. He said slowly, "Luna, I love you. In the next life, I will love you sincerely and purely." After saying that, his hand went limp and dropped. Gloria was sentenced to life imprisonment for the crime of intentional homicide, and Clyde's family took his body back to China for burial. When the 100th prank, the plane crash, happened in the prank game, the Elizabeth who had a connection with Clyde had already disappeared, and the one who survived in her place was Elizabeth. Elizabeth who lived only for herself, her family, and her ideals. I chose to stay in France and continued to work on the next game design. It was another international game design competition. I submitted my new work and became the first game designer to win the Gold Award consecutively, and the spring of my new life had just begun.